sudden we start having the conversation and
Conversation. Yeah, yeah.
we're not even live. So I usually give it a few minutes just for
Okay,
people to hop on. I,
okay,
I should play my intro, but I'm too lazy to hit that button and go through all that stuff.
okay.
So
Whatever
we'll
you
just,
do.
all right. I see a few people already. I'll give it a few more minutes.
Okay.
Gloria, I'm going to butcher your name anyway, so I want to wait for more people to come on before I finally.
Okay.
Hello, Lewis. How are you? How's everyone doing? I know this is I believe this is the third night in a row that we have been on New Jersey Paranormal.
Right.
Chris, as you can see, is not present. Maybe spiritually she is. Gloria could tell me that. Chris went into the other room about an hour ago, and I went in there. She's sleeping. So, like they said, ain't no rest for the wicked. So here I am. How's everyone doing? Karen, Deb, how's everyone? Okay, we can start. There's enough people coming in here. All right, now, Gloria, say your
Yes.
name, your whole name, because I will butcher your name for sure.
Gloria Weichand.
And how would you describe? I read your website says um, spiritual visionary slash grief counselor slash author slash
Right.
teacher. There's a lot of slashes there.
Many hats. Many hats. Yes.
How would you describe everything that you do?
My main mission, I would say, is spiritual visionary, and I call myself a visionary because medium doesn't seem to be very accepted in the churches. You know,
Really?
yeah. Well, it's funny because the word medium and psychic really was never in the Bible. The Bible over 2,000 years has been changed many times, but visionaries are very accepted in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And I don't do anything different than what was done in the Old Testament and the New Testament, as many do, as many do.
Wow, I find that kind of strange. Even starting out that way, I never knew that's where the spiritual visionary came from.
Yes,
It's
yes, they
just
call them visionaries. They call
wow,
they never use the word
and that's
medium.
acceptable.
Well, it's more acceptable than medium. And when they say, because I'm Roman Catholic,
Okay,
I was born and raised Roman Catholic, went all through parochial school, and it's funny because in parochial school they teach you to communicate with God, the angels, and saints. And then
right.
when you say to them, which I did as a young child, "Oh, I see spirit." I saw my great grandmother when she passed, and the priest said, "Oh, you can't say that. That's bad." And I said to him, "But Father, that's what you told me to do. You told me if I prayed hard and asked God that my great grandmother would come and visit me," and she did. And he said, "Well, that's not good." So it was very confusing to me. And you have to understand, I'm 75 years old. I was born in 49. So in the 50s and 60s, there weren't people around like me. Now they're
No,
everywhere.
no.
Back then, I had nobody to talk to other than my grandmother, who was also a visionary like myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a
So
seventh generation in my family. That's how far back I'm able to track it is seventh generation. And I'm sure it goes back further than that.
but growing up in that background, see, I come see that's why it fascinates me to talk to people who come from because my mom came from that background. Yet she didn't push that on me. My siblings all went to Catholic school, and I
Right.
didn't.
Right.
My mother would literally get mad at me even up until the time she passed.
Right.
I cannot complete the Our Father prayer, even at the age of 55.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
And she would get frustrated with me because I would just mouth it and then
Right.
say amen, what everybody else did.
Right.
So I always wonder, I'm always fascinated when I talk to people who tie the religion part into the paranormal part because for
Right.
me it's not it's not it's not mixed in my world. It really isn't.
No, and
It's
it isn't. It really isn't mixed.
yeah,
The thing is people think that when we transition to the other side, that the soul gets sucked out of the body and we go
right.
into ethers. That's not the way it works at all. The other side is just another dimension of here. I work with a lot of terminally ill people who will come to me and they'll say to me, "How will I know when it's my time?" And I'll say, "Don't worry about it. Every single person sees before they pass
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
There's somebody comes for them, whether
Yeah.
they see glimpses of the other side and they recognize it. Everyone sees. They just have to take one step over and they're here. It's just another dimension of here, like another world, if you will.
But
So,
do you think that's true for younger people?
oh, absolutely.
But let's say, God forbid,
Right.
you get in a car accident.
Right.
Does that same experience happen before you go?
Well, my belief is that, and this is what I've always been told by Spirit, my belief is that we only take our final breath when it's God's time. I don't care if you're in utero, if you're a year old, 5 years old, 100 years old, murder, suicide, natural causes. We only take that final breath when it's God's time. I mean,
Right,
people try to, and that most of my clientele are parents who have lost children.
right,
So I want to make sure when they come to me that I bring them enough information, proof that's going to validate for them that I'm really connecting with their child. And
right,
it's very important for me to help them understand it was their child's time to pass, because that's life's most punishing sorrow is the loss of a child.
right,
So
right.
it's important to me that they understand that.
See,
So
but that's a hard concept again from someone who doesn't come from a religious background. And
right,
we're getting it on to all the subjects that I mentioned that we're going to talk about later. But this fascinates me,
right,
and I'm a rabbit hole guy. I
right,
go down the rabbit hole, and I think too much about too much. And I think if heaven, if that's what we're calling it, is another dimension, and it exists, and hopefully it's everything that everybody wants it to be,
okay,
it really makes no sense to me. I'm not a big believer in past lives.
right. No,
It really makes no sense to me if you're saying things like, okay, that God tells you, or God's going to tell you what's your last breath.
right.
Why then would I get 89 years of life and somebody only get 5?
Well, because let me talk about past lives for a minute because this kind of ties into it. I believe that we only come back for a higher purpose. We can choose to come back for a higher purpose. I do not believe that we come back again and again. We're a male, we're a female, we're a cow, we're a female.
So you're saying it's a choice?
I believe that I believe that we can choose to come back for a higher purpose
Okay.
because that's what I'm told by Spirit. So my belief is the mentally and physically handicapped, I
Right.
believe they're our greatest teachers. They can teach us what we can't learn in a book:
Right.
love, compassion,
Right.
understanding, forgiveness,
Right.
acceptance. So, when you see a person who's disabled, it tugs on your heartstrings.
Right.
You see a child that's disabled, it makes you thank God a little more for your healthy children.
Right. Right.
I think a lot of these individuals, like the children with Asperger's and autism, that lose the ability to communicate, I'll say to the parents, these are really special, gifted individuals. It's
Right.
really an honor to be in their presence or to have them in your family. It may not feel like that as a parent because it's difficult to watch your child be different or suffer in any way,
Right.
but really they are teachers. I always say if you can sit behind a closed door with Albert Einstein or a Down syndrome, choose the Down syndrome because they'll teach you what's really important in life.
Right. It's the very basic essence of what life should
Right.
be
Absolutely. So I think
to its
differently
core.
about past lives, but I do not believe that you come back. I believe it's a choice and only for a higher purpose. And I believe you can choose to come back for one of greatness as well,
Okay.
to be somebody who can really accomplish a lot in this world and do a lot of good with your accomplishments. So I do believe that I do not believe we come back a million times. I don't believe that.
Do you believe that there's a life review?
Oh, the life review is very important. They talk about that all the time. I think it's personal responsibility. In the Catholic Church, we're taught that when you're born with original sin. I don't believe that. Just like I don't believe in the fires of hell. I believe it's symbolic. I believe when Jesus walked on the earth and he spoke, I believe that he spoke in parables and he gave a lot of different symbolism. He used a lot of symbolism. And I think that's why Christianity is the largest followed religion, because I don't believe God is a little man who sits in the sky. I believe that this divine creator who is more powerful than our small brains could possibly comprehend. I believe one of the greatest gifts he gave to us was Jesus, because we can relate to a man who lived and breathed. And that's why so many people relate and say, I have a personal relationship with Jesus, because we can relate to this. We can't relate to all this.
See, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Again, on some level,
Right.
on another level, I do think I do think that the universe, and I don't think anything was an accident. It's just I think we scratch the surface as humans of what our comprehension is, and the
Right.
things like you said that we could process and understand as a human being. When
Right.
we transition, maybe more of that stuff comes to us. We're plugged into the AI of the
Right.
of the afterlife, and we become
Right.
something different, more knowledgeable. But I, like I said, it for me, and I know we're going off to a sidetrack
That's
here.
okay.
There is no way that so many species could exist on one planet
Absolutely.
and in so many different types of environments, and
Absolutely.
yet it was just one organism and another organism and I mean, I would even go so far as to say, and I know this is really out there, and I apologize to you guys for
No,
going
no.
down for this weird rabbit hole.
Right.
It wouldn't shock me if one day I found out that aliens, who again were created somehow, some way, somewhere,
Right.
did cultivate this planet with everything that's on it, every species.
How can we believe in this divine presence and not think or believe that we're the only planet in this tremendous universe, and we
No
don't know
way.
any
No
other
way.
universes, we're the only planet that holds life. I
No
very
way.
much believe that there's a lot out there that we don't know.
No way.
A lot out there. A lot out there.
So again, I apologize. I'll get talking like someone like Gloria, and this is probably why Gloria and I have had conversations that have
Right.
lasted on the phone. We were having one before we went live, and I'm like, stop. We're gonna go live. We'll never get on live if
I want
we
to get
start
back
talking.
to life review. You mentioned life review. I want to
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
life review because you asked me about that before. So if we don't get back to it, we'll forget.
Okay.
I believe that I believe in the two bodies. I believe in the physical body. I believe both were gifts from this creator. So the physical body we're looking at, I see you, you see me. That's the physical body. Our soul fills the entire physical body. So we have two bodies, both gifts from this creator.
Okay.
So when it's time to transition to the other side, the soul takes one step out, just one step out. We
Okay.
look exactly as we look when we're here, only the best that we looked without the illnesses. We don't need the hearts beating and the lungs functioning. We don't need that on the other side. But the way we look, the way we're created, is the way God created us. So that's the two bodies. Now, the part of communication of the soul body is in the right side of the brain. So when I connect to the world of spirit, it's soul to soul communication because we
Okay.
really are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
So when a person transitions to the other side, the personality goes with that person. So I'll say to my students, because I've taught this for many years now, I'll say to my students, when I am over there, it's going to be very easy for you to communicate with me because I have a very strong personality. So they'll be able to communicate with me. But we have a life review when we transition to the other side. And in that life review, I am told that we are shown every positive thing that we've done
Right.
and said, and any negative thing. We have to judge and forgive ourselves for what our words and actions did to hurt someone else or to hurt us. That would be worse for the Saddam Husseins of the world than diving into the fires of hell.
Right.
I
Right.
believe Jesus used the word hell as symbolism to tell
Right.
us, what we would feel because we'll feel and understand. I mean, imagine what Hitler felt like to understand in his life review all the people and the pain associated with that.
Yeah, it's a good point because again, sociopaths
Right.
in theory don't have the ability to
No,
feel and understand empathy, sympathy,
exactly.
any of that. But like you said, let's say in the life review process,
Right.
all of a sudden that is given to you, so
Right.
you could see from that perspective of a normal person.
But you separate. The soul is always pure.
Right.
Soul is pure. That always goes back. But the physical body, that's personal responsibility. We have control of our own choices.
See, I'm glad you said that because I talked to someone, and I can't name this person because they're writing a book about what their theory of the afterlife is. And you're the first person who, when we talked about the life review, I've heard the life review many, many, many times,
Right.
but you're the first person who said what this person had said to me about not just reviewing your life, like you said, with the understanding of every good thing and all the bad stuff.
Right.
It's he, according to this person, it was acceptance until you can come to terms and
Absolutely.
be, I guess, pure is the
Right.
word.
Right.
You cannot
Trans-
go whatever happens
Further. Yeah.
next.
But you don't get trapped. I
Right.
don't believe in any of that nonsense.
Okay.
Okay. That's a whole other thing. But I don't believe in any of that.
So
I don't.
what happens to the soul that can't face that? Does it just take longer to
It
them
just
to
takes longer.
accept?
It takes longer to forgive themselves. They have to. It's self-forgiveness. It
Yeah.
takes longer for them to forgive themselves, but eventually we all do, and we transition to the other side. Complete.
Yeah.
That's
See,
life.
this person's theory was you
Yeah.
go through the life review, and then it was a very interesting theory. He
Yeah.
said you go through the life review, and then you and I would enter what our vision of heaven would be.
Right.
Just to ease the transition into what the afterlife really is. It's about becoming accepting and that you're gone, dealing with the life review, being part of whatever comes next, and coming and accepting that is only when the
Right.
true whatever it is revealed to you.
Right. Right.
You kind of agree with that on some level?
I don't know. I believe that the other side is a very active place because that's what I'm told. I know
Okay.
children will greet other children.
Okay.
I did a reading here last week for someone who lost a little boy. He was 7 years old.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I said, when he stepped in, I mentioned two other names. And she said those were, that was a classmate of his who
Oh,
died from leukemia. And that other little boy, she couldn't think of who the other little boy. And then as the reading session went on, she said, wait, that's a little boy that passed years ago. Years ago.
wow.
She said, I
Wow.
remember when that happened. So I said, well, understand that these children greeted your son when he passed over. So, I'm told by spirit again that, if somebody commits suicide,
Right.
they're greeted by others who pass the same way. They understand because the soul does get tired,
Right.
and part of passing, especially if there's suffering involved, and I just deplore any medium out there that says, oh, they committed suicide, oh, they're suffering, they murdered them. That's just so not true. Because when a person gets to the point that they feel that lost,
Yeah.
and that alone, if anything, they're embraced even greater on the other side,
Okay.
even greater. So I'm very careful with my words because doing what I do and teaching others to do this work, I help them to understand that words hold power.
Right.
And people, at different stages of their life, their minds become very fragile through a
Right.
loss of a loved one, through depression, divorce, whatever the issues. We become fragile in our mind, and we seek out people like me. And unfortunately, they go to a lot of the charlatans,
Yeah.
the fake charlatan psychics, and they'll tell them what they want to hear, but they'll also pull back a little,
Yeah.
uh, for money, like
Well,
purses, and it's just such a money-making racket, such a money-making racket. It's a billion-dollar business, and most of the money is made off the charlatan site.
I mean, let's face it. There was a psychic network. Remember the hotline,
Oh, yeah, the
800 number.
absolutely,
I mean, come on.
absolutely.
Here's the thing that I again, I really like talking to you, and I appreciate this part of it because I've had mediums on. I don't have the ability, and I know we're going to talk about how you're going to tell me anyone can have the ability. We'll get into that later.
Right,
But if I had the ability, I know me
right,
as a person, I would literally drive myself crazy by sitting myself in a room for hours and hours and hours and trying to get every answer I could about what happened from the time the lights go out to whatever happens. I would literally spend my days journaling, notebooking, because that seems to be the thing that most mediums that I've ever met
mhm.
can't seem to. When I say that, what do you know? Have spirits told you what is the process? What happens right after? How long? Why did mediums, some mediums say it takes 6 months
Oh,
to
that's so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous.
I hear this and I go, well,
It's
it
ridiculous.
almost sounds like Beetlejuice, like there's the handbook,
Listen,
like there.
people can transition. People can pass. A grandmother can pass away in one room, and a granddaughter can sit up in bed and know that the grandmother just passed. because they can feel the soul as it passes by them or passes through them. You can, there's no time limit on that. There's nothing. As a matter of fact, most people, when they lose a loved one, that's when they'll say, oh, my grandmother was standing at the foot of the bed, or I saw my son, he was standing in the doorway, and that's sometimes hours or days after somebody passes. You can't put a clock on spirit, and that goes with the readings too.
I agree.
I don't time my readings, and I get crucified for that. And I have one set price, and I don't charge what I should. And a lot of times I don't charge because it's very hard for me after I've given a reading to parents who lost a child and they're happy that they received good evidence, and then stand up and hold my hand out for money. It's very difficult for me. That's why I'm not living in my beachfront home down the street. If I would do it that way, fine. But I don't believe you can put a clock on spirit.
Right.
I don't believe that you should be on the clock. Okay, I only read for 30 minutes.
Right.
I hate going to these expos. And I said, I'm going to do one day, but it's going to be done right.
Hey, don't start talking about expos, Gloria. I've got one coming up in 2 months.
No. I mean, where you see medium after medium after medium after medium after medium, do it right. Do it right. And I believe that there are so many out there that have these gifts and abilities.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'd like to do an expo and call it the Light Workers Expo, and invitation only of the people that come, because I know the ones that are good. There are so many that are gifted and help so many people. But this is a very competitive field, and it should be.
Well, the paranormal field has gone to S. I won't say the actual word.
Right. It really has.
It is worse than it's ever been, and it's awful and terrible.
And that's why I like what you and Chris are doing, because you're a skeptic.
Yeah.
You're a skeptic. I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the biggest skeptics you'd ever meet. When people say to me, is this one credible? You go to a studio audience and there's 1,000 people. And is that medium credible? Well, I'll see that this individual goes up to where there's 500 people sitting.
Yeah.
And this medium will say, somebody in this section lost a husband.
Yeah.
Or knows someone who did. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Why can't that medium go directly to the person? You have a man standing. Why can't they do that? You see? So I don't like that. So I believe if they have a show, they must be good to some point. But I find with this work, when you go Hollywood and you lose your humility, you lose it.
Well,
because you got to stay humble. You got to stay humble when you do this work.
I think, again, I go back to the point of, as being a skeptic, I'm all about, no one wants more proof of the afterlife than me. I'm 55 now, and I'm on the back nine. So believe me, I want more reassurance that there's an afterlife now more than when I was 45, 35, 25. Believe me. And after I lost my mom, and then I lost my sister in February. So yeah, it's more and more of, I want someone to say to me for sure and prove to me that. But you bring up, and I'll tell you a real quick story. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I'll tell it really, really quick. About time, about reaching out when they passed over. When my mom passed, my mom was not a believer in the paranormal. She was religious, but we didn't go to church or anything. Not me growing up. I said, my siblings did. But I begged my mother, please give me a sign that you're somewhere and that there is something, right? And I'll tell you a really, really quick story. She had passed. We had something we were supposed to do. I didn't go, of course. And friends of mine were bringing me food over like Italian people do. And I'm waiting outside for them. And I'm looking up at the stars for a sign from my mom, anything. And I'm looking up and all I see is the North Star. And I was getting frustrated with myself because I was so desperate. And I'm like, it's a star. That's all it is. It's nothing. It's not a sign. My friends give me my food. I come in. I go to bed. Chris was out. Chris didn't get home late. She was with our friends. I wake up the next morning. There's a bag on the table. One of our friends from our team got me a gift that they named the star after my mother. And there was also a ceramic thing with a quote about the stars and the ones we lost.
That's why. But do you understand why you notice the North Star? Because people don't understand that, there's 5 ways to connect to spirit. Okay. Clairvoyance is to see, clairaudient to hear. Those are my 2 strongest. Clairsentient is the gut feeling.
Okay.
Claircognizant is the all-knowing, where you'll go to a medium or visionary, and they'll say really good information. How did you know that? Did you see it? No. Did you hear it? No. Did you sense it? No, I just knew it. That's the claircognizant.
Right.
Then you have the clairgussion, taste and smell. So people need to understand how these clears work. Okay. So when I say I'm clairaudient, I hear spirit. I don't hear voices. I hear thoughts. The voice of spirit is a thought. So your attention was brought to that North Star because your mother or your sister wanted your attention to go to that star.
Right. Right.
They knew this star was going to be on your table when
Right.
you woke up in the morning. So that's a voice that you heard. You see, it's a voice that you heard. So that's why I say when I do readings,
Could you explain that to me just a little? You're doing a reading, or
I'm doing okay. All right.
you're getting information. What is that? What is that?
I'll
What
give
is
you
that
an
like?
example. You go to the store. Chris says, go to the store. I need milk and bread. You go to the store.
Right.
You go to the store. You buy ice cream. You buy cake. You buy this. You buy that. You buy coffee. You buy milk. You come home. On the way home, forgot bread.
Right.
Just came into your head. Forgot bread.
Right.
That's the way the voices of spirit work.
Oh wow.
Thought. It's a thought. So when I do a reading, in order to do this work properly, everybody that you've heard that have said to you, you have to meditate. They are right, because you have the split brain here. You have the left brain, which is busy, worry, fear. What am I going to do? I miss them. I want to connect. I don't
Right.
believe it. Where are they? Blah, blah, blah. Then you have the right brain. The right brain is how we connect to God and spirit. So if you want to connect with spirit, you have to learn how to quiet that left brain down. You can only do that through prayer and meditation. There's
Right.
no other way. There's no other way.
Okay.
So people will say, well, I can't meditate. My brain is too busy. Well, that's because when you're not, you don't meditate like I meditate every day for years
Right.
and years and years. So I can sit down. It's very easy for me to, cut off and bring in.
Right.
But for newbies, I tell them you need guided visual meditation.
Yeah.
And there's a million out there on YouTube. You just preface it with guided visual meditation, working with my 5 clears. So if I do a meditation with somebody, I take them to the beach, because the beach is a great place in meditation where I can work with all their senses. I get them on the beach, their eyes are closed, I relax their body, I talk them through it. Then I say, you're on the beach. And now I want you to feel the warm sand beneath your feet. And I give them a minute, and they feel it. And while they're going through now hear the seagull overhead, hear the rhythm of the waves, taste the salt air, smell the salt air. While they're doing this and following it, the left brain is shutting down, shutting down, shutting down.
I gotta do that one time. I gotta do it.
I'm going to send you a really good meditation.
Because I can't do it. I've tried.
I know.
Can't do it.
No, you can't just do it. You can't. You can't just sit there and listen to music.
No.
The left brain is too busy. You need
Right.
guided visual meditation.
But I even like the way you're describing, because
But you
I
don't
like-
know what your gifts are. You have to find out what your gifts and abilities are.
I like being on an empty beach, like
Right.
just being when it's all crowded family. I like walking around and just
Right.
hearing the water. And
Exactly.
just hearing the sound. So that may be the way to do it for me
Right.
if I were to try to do it.
Absolutely. But you need guided visual. I'll send you one. I'll send you.
Yeah, definitely. So we God, I can't believe we just went like in a huge circle there, because again, what I don't, again, mediums, you said it yourself, and I believe mediums are a dime a dozen. And I believe in the modern age, ancestry.com, Google, it's just way too easy now. Way too. My nephew, when my sister passed, said to me, I want to go to a medium that my stepmother sees. And I said, why would you do that? And he said, because I want a message from my mother. I said, you think you're going to get it from that woman who knows that your mom just passed?
Everything about you.
And knows her. I said, Joey, I said, please do not waste your money. And I said, and if you do, you tell her, tell me something about my mom that only I would know, that only we would know between us. If she could do that, hand her your money.
Well,
if she can't.
Right. But this is the way it works. We're never in control with who comes in or the information that comes in.
Right.
I do evidential mediumship. People really think that if you're a true medium, it's like on television, that a spirit can come down and can communicate with me like I'm communicating with you. And I say to my students, if the day comes that you can actually have a two-way conversation with spirit, you better check your pulse, because chances are you because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Every true medium or visionary has
Right.
to form their own language with spirit. I have thousands of symbols. I work very hard bringing in information. For me, if I get a symbol, like I'll say in a class, okay, write what this pen means to you. If there's 40 mediums in the room, I'll say, okay, what does a pen mean to you? They'll say a book. What does it mean to me? It means California. Another one will say it means this. It means the red car, whatever. Okay. Now I write it down in my symbol journal, pen, California.
Right.
I shut my symbol journal. If 5 years from now I'm doing a reading and I see a pen, I would say to that completely trusting spirit, I would say, oh, there's a connection to California around your son. Yes, that's where he passed that's where he was when he passed.
Wow.
That's symbology. See, because the spirit world does not have the ability to have a two-way conversation. It's
Right.
snippets or pieces of evidence.
Right.
Evidence.
That makes sense to me. So what do you do in the case of, I'm sure it has to happen,
Right.
when that person is across from you, and we all know that, let's face it, people are coming to you because they lost someone and they want to connect. Has there been times where just nothing?
Well, there's never been times where I'd say, well, I can't connect. I'm sorry. I don't know. There's been times where they'd say, well, I don't understand 3 things that you brought in. I will say to them, I can always be wrong because I'm human, but they're
Right.
never wrong. And evidential mediumship means I am just repeating what they're telling me. So I believe that nothing is wasted.
Wow.
Nothing is wasted. We live in a very technological time, John. I can go on the internet. I can track your last
Oh,
name.
sure, sure.
One obituary. The charlatans can do 5 readings off one obituary.
Oh, sure.
Wealth of information. Now you have ancestry.com.
Oh, yeah, easy.
They can go back generations. So we need to work very hard with spirit to bring in information that only you and your loved one in spirit would be able to understand and take. That's the way I work. That's the way I teach.
So you've never had a time where absolutely nothing has come through?
No.
Wow. I've never heard that before. I really haven't.
I did have a time one time. It was a typical Jewish mother and father, and her son had lost his wife. And they came, we were living in the Poconos in the mountains, and they came in and she sat down and I said, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave the room because this is just for your son. And his son wanted to connect to his wife. And that woman just was relentless. It wouldn't stop. Well, you see her. Do you see her? And then she went, I said, why don't you wait in the waiting area? I had a little waiting area. And she kept the door open. She kept peeking in and saying things. And I stopped the reading and I said, I can't work like this. And I said to the young man, I said, why don't you come back and see me? Give me a call and I'll do a private reading for you because I can't work like this. That's the only time because I wanted to be real. And she was actually saying things behind him, like, she passed from leukemia.
Yeah.
She's, and I can't work like that.
Yeah. She's trying to feed you stuff to help you along, I guess. Well, I don't think I would ever go to a medium for a reading. Although Chip Coffey did one for me without me even asking, and he was dead on, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, he's good.
But I'm a believer, and I'm going to get to other subjects in a minute, guys. Just deal. Give me a minute here. I haven't talked to Gloria in probably a year at least or more.
You're here.
I know.
Yes, we're here. Yeah.
So I'm a believer in signs. I'm a huge believer in signs, and when I'm in crisis or I'm down or I've got a lot on my brain or I will talk out loud to my mom and my sister and say, please guys, if you could help me, if you're here for me or if you're with me, just show me something. And literally in that minute, and it's not like I'm looking at the bird in the tree fly by and going, oh, that's a sign. It's usually something really weird that really I notice and go, that wasn't just a random thing. And it happens almost every time. And I know, believe me, I'm a skeptic. I'm not.
I get it.
I'm not applying everything to that. There are times when it doesn't happen and I'm depressed and I'm just like, okay, you're not around for whatever reason. But when it does, it's just so unique that I'm like, they're there. They're here. They've got to be.
Yeah.
you know?
Are here. Do you know the strongest way for spirits to communicate with us?
No.
You know the strongest way? Electronics. Because the soul is made of energy.
Right.
So when energy touches energy, you get an electrical disturbance. You see? So yes, lights will blink,
Right.
but not if you're thinking about your mother or thinking about your
Right.
sister and you get a blinking light. The best thing that ever happened to the world of spirit is the cell phone. They can manipulate them like I have never seen. They can
Really?
turn them on. They can turn them off. If you start talking about, if you're talking to Chris on the phone and you start getting static in the phone, you're talking about your mother, your sister, that's their energy pulling in. It is
Oh.
amazing how they can communicate with us through electronics.
See, that's a good segue into different ways of spirit communication. That's what fascinated me when you and I first started talking,
Right.
and we would talk about all these different things, because I may be a skeptic, and I believe what I believe
Right.
based on what I've seen and what I've experienced, but
Right.
I am open-minded. If
Right.
all of a sudden somebody did something tomorrow that
Right.
I saw really yielded, like, oh my God, I wish I'd have done that 10, 20 years ago, I would be the first one to say, hey, I tried it. And oh
Right.
my God, like people talk about, I talk about all the time, ayahuasca, that,
What is that?
that it's like a drug you take that gets it, you
Oh,
hallucinate.
hallucinate, yeah. And you
But people claim they see God and they see angels.
yeah.
I would even
Well,
try
you saw
that.
that with LSD too.
But I would even try that to see
Right.
what that was like. But you and I were talking way back when. Was that before COVID?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
Right around COVID. It was
Was
right
it?
around COVID. It was
Okay.
yeah.
And you had told me about a technique that you do with your friends, and who are some of them who are which are mediums,
Right.
where you invite them to your home and
My students.
students.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you describe it, because you're going to do it better than me. But I was fascinated to witness it and take part in it, and I did. I sat up on the chair and I did. But the setup and everything. So describe what that is and
Okay.
what the premise
That
behind
is
it.
called cabinet. A cabinet is used for sensory deprivation. Sensory deprivation is when you want to cut out the rest of the world. So my Uncle Richard built me this cabinet. It's all wood. And then I had black draping across the front of it, so
Right.
that when you sit in it, okay, and I would sit somebody in it, and then I would ask questions. Tell me when you have your link. And she'd say, I have my link. I'd say male or female. They'd say male. Name, I'm getting the name Jeffrey. 3 months, January, June, August. Ask Jeffrey to put something in your hand. He's putting in a bowling ball. And then I say to the other people present, can anybody understand that? Yes, my son's name was Jeffrey. I understand those months, and he was a professional bowler. I can take that. You see,
Wow.
that's sensory deprivation, because for many people it's too intimidating. You sit and you put people in a circle and say, okay, it's time for spirit, for communication, and they freeze up because people are watching them. Where when they're closed off like that, they're closed off from the world. They're by themselves inside. It's just between them and spirit. They see nothing, they hear nothing else except my voice. And all
Right.
I say is, tell me when you have your link. And it's unbelievable what you were
Yeah.
present for.
But you're talking to the people who are sitting in the cabinet,
I'm
asking them
I'm
when they have their link.
person in the cabinet, tell me when you have your link. And the people who are sitting outside, 20 or 30 people, they're going to bring in information, connect it with a spirit energy, a loved one, connected around somebody in this circle. And the only way it can be validated is by the information. So I work, and this is the way I teach.
Yeah,
By
but it's not related to the person in the cabinet.
no, no, they're reading, they're mediums. They're bringing
Oh,
information. They're connecting with a spirit energy that's connected with someone who's in the circle outside.
gotcha.
What you were present for is I do transfiguration in the cabinet.
Right.
Transfiguration is when you pull the drapes back, and usually I start it. I sit like halfway in and out of the cabinet. You put a very soft, low light on, not a candle because you don't want any flickering.
Right.
Everything else is very dark. And then I invite spirit to show themselves in front of me. They don't have the ability. I don't believe in possession. I don't believe in any of that. Trap spirits. I believe that possession is addiction. Again, it's the physical. We have to
Okay.
allow drug addiction, alcoholism. We have to allow. I don't believe spirits have the ability to jump into anybody's body. But what I do is I invite them to show themselves in front of me. Transfiguration has been done for over 100 years. And I sit there very quietly, and then people in the audience just watch. And I say to them, if you recognize someone, and then it just starts coming in. I know people say sometimes they'll see like hundreds of different faces that will pass when I sit. And what I do that's different is because a lot of these mediums, like if you talk to some of the mediums from England, they'll say, oh, only special individuals can do transfiguration. Anybody can do transfiguration. So I will invite others to sit and invite spirit in so that they have the opportunity to feel these beautiful energies as they pass in front of them. And people will recognize them. People will recognize them.
Now we were there, and if I had to, again, I'm trying to remember. I would guess that there were probably 20 people, maybe. And now again, I'm a skeptic,
Right.
and the idea as a skeptic
Right.
of what you were telling me initially,
Right.
still, even now, going
Yeah.
back and thinking,
Right.
if I have a low light and I'm focused on anything,
Yeah.
like my doorknob will start moving.
Right.
It,
Right.
it will transform
Right.
because eventually I'm so focused and my eyes are strained trying to, see features and everything that eventually my mind may start to,
But understand
create.
the transfiguration. I tell my students, after you meditate every day, find
Right.
a spot on the wall, one spot, and stare at that spot.
Right.
Eventually, yes, you start to see, but that's how you start to see.
Okay, see, it makes sense to me on that level. But
Right.
again, as a skeptic sitting
Right.
in that
I understand.
audience, I'm watching
Right.
people and they're talking to each other and they're
Right.
going, "Oh my God, do you see?"
Yeah.
And
Right.
I really didn't. They
Right.
were like, "Do you
Right.
see her face? Her
Right.
face changed." And
Right.
even when I was up there, I got in the
Right.
box and they're like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
his eyes aren't open."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, they are. I'm looking right at you, people." And they're like, "Oh my God, his face looks like this and that." And I'm thinking, okay, again,
Right.
this is the great mystery of the paranormal to me,
Right.
and that I can, again, in my brain I can rationalize different things,
Right. But
but
just
I might not always be right,
But
but I
no,
can
but you might not
rationalize
be a
it.
seer. You might
Right.
not be a seer.
That
That
too.
goes with the 5 clairs. That's why I say the first thing that people need to do, especially you, because you're so engrossed in this work, you should really let me teach you, go through a class with you, teaching you the 5 clairs, so at least we can determine what your gifts and abilities are. You and Chris both. I invite you both.
Oh, I would be happy to do it.
I'll do a free class for the 2 of you and maybe a group, say get 10 people and come here and we'll do a day class together. And I will teach you because when you go to these places, these haunted houses or whatever, I don't believe that people hang around in haunted houses. What I believe happens is if I go, like they want me to go to Gettysburg, they're always asking me to go to some prison or some hospital in Pennsylvania. And I'll say, sure, I'll go, but I'll go in the middle of the afternoon. I don't want to go in the middle of the night with special cameras and special. I don't need to go. Think spirit only comes out at night.
No, of
But
course
my
not.
point is,
Right.
when I'm in there, yes, I'm going to pick up on spirit energy, not because they're hanging out there, because they know from that dimension that I have this ability and I will be able to bring information in from them about them, but not because they're hanging out there. So it would really, in my mind, benefit you and Chris and maybe a group of 10 who you work closely with to understand this and learn this. So when you go to these places, you can stand there and you might say, I'm hearing the name James, and Chris might say, well, I'm hearing the state of Florida, and somebody else might say, well, I'm feeling a hanging. I see somebody holding their throat. You have to, when
No,
you're
I love the idea. I
yeah,
would do it in a minute, and
yeah.
we
Well,
should definitely
get a
talk
group
about.
together. Get
We
a group
should
together, and I'll gladly do it for you.
we should definitely do it. Is this
Yeah.
something that we could do over how long? What does it usually
Well, we'll do
entail?
a day, like 10 to 4. 10 in
Okay,
the morning,
I'd
1 in
love
the
to do it. I'm really
and
interested in doing
just
it.
so we can at least learn what your gifts and abilities are.
But I again, as someone who's been doing this a long time,
Right.
and someone who doesn't have, I don't believe I have any abilities, at least as far as I know.
I know you do.
Um,
I know you do.
Maybe I do,
I know
but
you do, or you wouldn't be
I,
able to work in this as much as you are.
I do believe I'm still not sure to this day if the spirits are there all the time, or
Right.
are you tapping into a period of when they were there, or are you channeling them in by referencing them and talking about them and being in their home?
Right.
I think there's a combination of one of those or all of them. I don't know. I
Want to
don't know
know?
those
You want to
answers.
know the best way to build a medium? Like if
But I will tell you, I've gotten many
yeah,
live intelligent responses
absolutely.
of spirit being right there.
Absolutely.
Many through the years.
Absolutely. When you meditate, okay? And a lot of people don't meditate properly. Like people will say to me, "Oh, I meditate and I connect with my mother all the time." And I say, "Oh, really? Yeah. And do you have a two-way conversation?" "Oh, we can talk for hours back and forth." I say, "That's all your own left brain." Because when you meditate specifically, say to meet with your sister or your mother, you set your intention, because
Right.
everything in the metaphysical world, you set your intention. You ask God, you tell God, this is what I want. I want
Okay.
my sister to step in. Then you listen to the guided visual meditation. And during that guided visual meditation, the one that I'm going to send you, you're
Okay.
going to hear somebody say, and now your loved one steps in. That's when
Really?
your sister will step in. Now, when your sister steps in, the worst thing you can do is talk to her,
Okay.
because words come from the left brain. You just spent a half an hour quieting that left brain down.
Yeah.
And now you're going to talk, oh, I miss you. I love you. Now, done. So everything you get is going to be your own thought.
Right.
So the best way to do it is just to always have a journal, put the date on top, state who it is you want to connect with, close your journal, listen to your meditation. Your sister
Wow.
or your mother will step in. They'll say what they say. When they're done, when the meditation is over, you open your journal, you write it down. You do this 3 times a week. Eventually, what happens is they're going to say something to you. They're going
Right.
to say, spilled coffee on pants, spilled coffee on pants. And Chris is out. She's going to come home. You're going to say, well, my sister stepped in and I got this crazy spilled coffee on my pants. John, look at my pants. I spilled
Yeah.
coffee in my pants. You see, that's what builds a medium, because you're actually doing a reading every time you're connecting with, and nothing raises your vibration more than that.
Now I'm open. Believe me, I am open to it. Like I said, the experimentation and anything that will give me more, like you said, intuition, more experience, more knowledge. Anything that will help me become better at connecting.
Well, then you have to have all of the education connected with it. I think what you do is great. I see the community you built, and it looks like you have some great people
Oh no,
in
they're
your
awesome.
community.
We're very
So,
fortunate. We're very fortunate.
I would be honored to teach a group of you anytime the right way, and to learn what their gifts, and I guarantee most of the people that you work closely with are mediums. They're visionaries,
They
but they
might
don't
be.
realize it. They don't even realize it, because they're not understanding what their own gifts and abilities are.
Yeah, we'll pick 10 people. Well, it'll be
Do
probably
it.
3 or 4 of us and 5 other people. We'll pick
Good.
5 people,
Do it.
and we'll
12,
come up
whatever.
there.
Yeah, I don't think I could fit more than 15.
All right, but that
Well, no, I
I
could
would
probably, if
be
we did it in the main house, which we could, I could have up to 20, but
I
no more.
would be really interested in doing it,
Yeah,
because again, uh, like I said, I am open to the idea of
right.
the again. This is what I tell everyone in every lecture we ever do, in every place we ever go. As long as you're open to the what if.
Right.
If you're totally, like you said, if you're what is it? What would you say? Side of the brain, is it the left?
Left
That's
side of
the.
the brain
If
is
you're totally left-sided and you don't even want to give the notion of,
right.
okay, this is it, we die, all right, we're end the story, no
Right.
such thing as spirits, and other people, again, not to offend religious people, but I've
Right.
had several people, and this is getting more frequent even on TikTok. You're
Yeah.
talking to demons, you're talking to the devil. There are no spirits.
I
It
want to
says
tell
so
you,
in the Bible. Well,
I
I don't read the Bible. I'm not a religious person. I have my own beliefs, and I believe I know that
the
I've
real Bible
spoken.
is the Torah. The Torah is the only Bible that hasn't been changed. Or
Well, again, for me, I have my own beliefs, and
right.
they're not based on any.
Listen, John, listen. I go to church every Sunday. I grew up in the Catholic Church.
Right.
That it's just important to me. That's Catholicism, the religion
Right.
of my youth. But I know people that sit in the front row, they go every day and they're not very nice people. My father never went to church. He only went when I made my communion, my confirmation. There was never a better man
Yeah,
than
but I respect it. I do. I respect everyone's opinion
yeah,
and
right.
ideas and beliefs,
I
but
do too. I do.
don't put me on a lower level just
Exactly.
because mine are more, and I don't even want to, I'll use the term loosely,
Yeah.
mine are more spiritual than
No,
they
it's
are
not loosely.
religion.
You're more right. You're right. And there's great divisions because of religion. That's why I accept all religions as long as they're of God's love and light.
Right. I mean, I'm a searcher. That's
Right.
what I'm a researcher. Yes, I try to help people when I can. If
Right.
we can, great. But I'm also someone who's just living the human experience
Right.
and trying to get all the knowledge I can and experience. And that's why I say, and again, I don't know how you feel about this. We'll talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
Quote unquote protection. Because I'm not a religious person, I don't pray. I don't wear a crucifix. I don't have holy water with me.
Right.
I go in
Right.
open channel. That's what I do everything. I'm an
Right.
open channel wherever I go because I want to experience it all.
You know what
Whatever it
you
is.
know what you need protection from? You need protection never from anything on the other side. You need protection from this side, from
Right.
this from
Bingo.
people. That's it.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And you're 100% right about that.
I say that all the time. Yeah.
So one of the other things that fascinates me that I want to try one time, and you and I have talked about this, and
Right.
I saw this on your website. Again, there is a part of me, and Jane Doherty, I don't know if you're friends with Jane or not, but
Yeah.
Jane comes from that quote unquote old school
Right.
parapsychology. Jane was tested at universities and Princeton.
I
I,
was too. I was at Yale. They tested
but
me.
I tell you what, I bow at the feet of those people because they're the real deal.
Right.
There's
Right.
so many others that have come after that to just put on a black shirt, give themselves a cool name, and they do whatever they do.
Absolutely.
I am a student of those people like you and Jane. Do I believe everything? No.
No.
But am I open to everything that you have done? And John Zaffis of the world? Yes, I want to learn it all
Right.
and see if it works for me or if it helps me in doing what I do and helping people. But we were talking about this. You take people out on the beach
Right.
and you have a drum
Oh, the
circle.
drumming circles.
Right.
Drumming circles. Yeah. Well, the Native American Indians, they believed that God, their God, was in the flames of the fire.
Okay.
Fire would, so I do drumming on the beach. I started that many years ago, and we sit in a circle, and I always try to do it around the full moon
Okay.
because the energy is stronger around the full moon and high tide. So you have the pounding of the waves, the rhythm of the waves, you have the full moon, you have the drumming. And when you sit in a circle and it's constant drumming like that, you raise the vibration higher and you begin to see energy. But sometimes you can see it with your human eyes. I tell everybody, bring your cameras, take pictures. We'll drum for 10 minutes, then stop drumming. And I'll say, take out your cameras. And we get fabulous orb pictures. But the orb pictures, it's funny. There's always a female energy that comes around every drumming circle. You can see it. And everybody said, oh, it's the angel again. Now, yet we have to understand angels don't really have wings, but they show them. So they're just a higher vibrational energy. They present themselves with wings to children or when people see angels, because that's the way artists painted them.
Right.
But realistically, they're just a higher vibrational energy. They were one of the first creations from this God, where it was the angel realm, the choir of angels. So this one energy will come every drumming circle, and we actually are able to video her. So I believe it's a female. I can sense a female energy, but she just kind of goes all around the circle. She's pink. She looks like she has wings. And you can actually get her on video. We have still pictures and we have videos. Every single drumming circle.
See, I like the Native American aspect, part of that.
Right.
I like the idea of, I've always been, even when we take people into buildings and everything, I believe that there's no prediction. You can't predict how energy is going to mix with energy.
No,
the energy of any one given group in an environment could be different when you mix those people up and you bring more people in, it could affect the atmosphere and the spirits and the energy so differently. I like the idea of a group concept
Well,
of
that's what I was just going to say to you, John.
right.
If you bring a group and you learn how to do this, you from now on, when you go to these things, you'll have a certain format of the way you're going to do it.
That's what I'm looking for. That's
And,
what I'm looking for.
and that would really be helpful. And I think you would bring in a lot of information. And I do physical mediumship circles. I'm going to start doing them again. And, where you might get rapping or tapping or, or hear things. You keep the recorder going in case you hear anything. So, yeah, and they'll respond. If you ask for a sign, they will respond. It's amazing. It's amazing. Coins are another thing. People think, people find coins all the time. The message is in the year, not
really
finding a penny. It's the year. You find a penny, you pick it up, you look at the year. People just say, oh, I found a penny. It's my grandmother. No, look at the year on the penny. It might be the year that this person graduated, which could mean a mother or father. It might be, but people think it's just like you go to the beach. I live at the beach and people say, oh, a feather, it's spirit. But there's 1,000 seagulls in the
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, and that brings me back to, again,
yeah.
I'm not trying to offend you at all when I tell you the skeptic part of my brain says
well,
if you have a fire and you have flickers, you're going to have what looks like orbs on video and pictures. And smoke is going to look like something as well.
Right.
So, I mean, I have to say that because it's who I am. It's what I think.
That's okay.
You know what I mean?
You're the type of person that really should see it in person.
Exactly. That's when I believe it, because I have been with people. I witnessed things, again, from mediums and others, mediums especially, a few of them, that I literally could not explain when they happened. It was just, it couldn't have been a coincidence. It was just, they said something was there. They told me exactly who was there and where they were. And I went over with electric, measuring equipment and voice recorder and had both react. I got the voice right where the medium told me, when you ask that question, well, she said, before you play it back, when you ask that question, this is what he said. I played it back, boom.
And there it was.
And I'm like, how? How? How?
Yep.
Now, do I believe that from everyone, everywhere? No.
No
way.
No.
No way.
No. There's a lot. And, another thing, there's a lot of people out there teaching this, and they shouldn't be. Exactly. I always say, never teach what you cannot do.
Exactly.
Never teach what you cannot do. How can you teach somebody mediumship when you yourself can't do it?
Exactly.
People come to my classes. They're like sponges. I had one girl, she came about 6 months, and then she turned around and started her own meetup. She copy and pasted stuff from my website, and it was amazing. She started running trips to different places, and it was just amazing. But
But this is what frustrates me again in this field. Now, again, this is going to go. You're kind of making an argument for the other side of this, but I've known some people for years in this field, and then one day they turn around and say, "Now I'm a medium." And I go, boy, I knew you for 10 years. You never claimed to be a medium. And now you're a medium. Now, again, according to you and others, people can enhance that ability.
I believe that these are God-given gifts and abilities. Whether or not you choose to use them, enhance them, that's up to you. That's an individual choice that you have.
But does everybody have them?
I believe everybody has these gifts and abilities, but it's up to them. It's how, like people say, how long if I come to your classes, how long will it take? And I say, well, it depends on how passionate you are about it.
Well, that's like says everybody has the ability to play the piano, but not everyone's going to be Elton John.
Exactly. But people like you, John, you're pulled to this.
Right.
You're pulled to it. Why are you being pulled to this? It's more than just I'm a skeptic. No. You're being pulled to it for what reason? Doesn't it make sense that you should understand and learn?
No, you're right, 100%.
So you can. Wouldn't it be wonderful for you to be able to sit and say that you can bring information in, and the person where you're at says that's absolutely right, because you're connecting.
Yeah,
you're connecting.
I have to learn to shut that part of my brain, though. It's impossible.
No, you cannot do it alone. So I'm going to send you a meditation. And you do this meditation, and you do it with Chris.
Right.
You do it with Chris, or you do it in separate rooms and you ask the same 3 questions to the same spirit energy. Then you do
Okay.
it together after the meditation and you compare answers. It's shocking.
Wow.
This is what he said. Oh my God, said the same thing. I heard the same thing. It's really, that's how you build mediumship.
Well,
It's
we're gonna set up a day to come there
okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Anything that you want to talk about, you promote for you, so people. I'm sure everybody watching now is gonna want to reach out to you and for readings or classes
I'm,
and.
I'm booking pretty far out. I do a mediumship certification course. It's an 18-month course. It goes on. It starts again in January. It's 2 Thursday nights a month. I do
Wow.
2.5-hour classes. Then certification weekend is usually in June, and I ask that they come here. It's all done online. I have classes down here in person on Monday nights. I teach in the college, Ocean County College.
Oh, do you really?
I've been teaching there. This is my 4th year.
Oh,
The
wow.
superintendent called me up and said, "We want you to teach." I said, "What do you want me to teach?" Because I didn't realize they had this in schools. And he said, "There's such a demand. We heard that you're good and we'd like you to come
Oh,
here." So
wow.
this will be
Wow.
my 4th year teaching at Ocean County
You
College.
enjoy it?
Really cool. I love it.
Oh, good.
I love it. It's really good. And if I can, I wrote a children's book. I
Okay.
wrote a children's book. It's called Little Signs from Heaven. My
Aw.
my aunt Terry, is that right? Yeah. My aunt Terry is an artist. She's my aunt, but she's only we're the same age, so I don't call her aunt. But she's a fabulous artist, and I wrote it because so many children, when their sibling passes away,
Yeah.
she did all the artwork. I did all the work. It's all about signs from spirit
Right.
for children to understand
That's really good.
the many
That's really good.
ways. And then we also created an angel card deck, and it's the choir of angels. And again, Terry hand painted all the angels on
Oh,
it.
wow.
Well, because everybody prays to the angels and archangels. They're really the lowest of the angels. There's a choir, three sets in each choir, three sets. So the seraphim being the highest of all the angels, and everybody, poor Michael never gets a break. Everybody prays to Michael. So I like people to understand, the way the creator created all of this.
Right.
Choir.
Like
So
I said, I get that's all Greek to me. I don't
that's
know anything about it. I really, and again,
right.
between you and I, and I've had this conversation with them as well.
Right.
I don't believe in angels. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in any of that.
Well,
I really don't.
I don't believe in demons, but I do believe in higher vibrational energies that God created.
And when people talk about guardian angels, as
Yeah.
it applies to my brain and
Yeah.
I think my mom's a guardian angel. I think my sister's a guardian
Right.
angel.
Well,
And
some call them guides, some call them angels.
exactly.
Whatever they are to you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
if you go to griefmedium.org, that's my website.
griefmedium.org. So people are asking where you are located.
I'm located at the Jersey Shore.
So
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore area, Point Pleasant, around there,
Yeah.
that area.
Right.
Do you do just general readings or is it just grief
I
counseling?
do one-on-ones. I do groups, small groups, large groups. Before the pandemic, I was doing 300 plus.
Oof.
Yeah, but I don't do that anymore. I don't travel a lot anymore either.
Right.
I don't have to because now since the pandemic, I
Right.
teach a lot online, but I do
Right.
see people in person again as well. So I can do readings. I read all over the world, really. I do readings online. I do readings in person.
And they can look up they can go to your Facebook page or they contact you.
Griefmedium.org, and all the information is on there. And our web store is on there. It's Angels Among Us web store. That's on my website.
So if you're wondering, and I'll try to put it on this after we're finished here.
Okay,
but if you're looking for any information, her name is right.
I'm
trying to get right over there.
Yep.
There
I
somewhere.
have a YouTube channel, and I have YouTube. I'm on Twitter. They can find me on any.
Yeah, you could just look her up again if you're on Facebook watching this. Just look her up or look her up on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll be able to find all of her information. I am fascinated talking to Gloria. Every time I talk to her, I feel like I learn more, and again, my interest level goes up, and I feel like again, it's like you said, like going to one of your classes. I'm learning. I'm taking it all in. How much of it would stay with me? Am I going to use going forward? I don't know, but I am interested in
you get
a lot of it.
Together. You get that group together. We'll set a date.
Yeah, definitely.
Down here in the fall, that would be a great thing to do.
What are they saying? Little Sign from Heaven, a children's book. Yeah, that's the name of the book, correct?
Book, Little Signs from Heaven.
And where's that available? You just type in the
Available
title.
on my website. They can
Okay.
order it right from the website. They go to Angels Among Us web store, which is located on my website.
What is that? I need to have Gloria on more. You know what? After this one, I think Gloria and I can have quite a few conversations. I mean, we could talk for hours. I mean,
Yeah,
I cut
yeah.
it short because we were talking about so many
Right.
other things, but
Right.
Gloria and I could definitely will go on
Right.
about way more, especially if I take that class. I'll forget
Right.
about it.
Well,
Forget
that's
about
it.
it.
That's it. It's
Gloria, thank you so much. It's so great seeing you
Thank
again. And
you.
I hope all
See
is
you too.
well with your
Thank
son and
Thank
everything
you.
goes
And
okay with him.
congratulations again to you and Chris.
We'll talk soon, I'm sure. We'll set that
Okay.
up.
Very good.
Take
Thank you.
care of yourself.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
I got to tell you, I hope you guys enjoy that because um, to me, in this field, those are the most like interesting conversations you could have because she is so far on one side of the spectrum and I am from the other. Again, I don't come from a religious background, and I don't believe in everything you hear. Again, when people tell me when we did see that demonstration with the red light, I thought again, it's a trick of the mind. You have a low light, you have people sitting far away. Of course, it's going to look like things are distorted. She didn't take offense to that. She said, "Well, there's mediums in that group that are seeing other things." Then okay, great, sure. And then when we talked about the fire, I said the same thing. Hey, look, I get the energy. I get raising the vibration. I'm all about that. I believe in all that. But if you're going to tell me you're seeing orbs and everything when flicks of wood and fire and ash and smoke, then again, the skeptic part of my brain's going to go, but there always is. You have to be in this field. You have to be open. You have to, because just because you believe one thing and think you could rationalize it, you might be wrong. You might be wrong. You might be proven wrong, and you have to be open to that. And I am. I'm open to always being proven wrong. Hell, most of the times I wish I am proven wrong because then it'll just, wow, it enhances the experience. So I hope you enjoyed it. Gloria's awesome. Go check her out. Go on her page. We are, now that we know about this, I will see how many members of New Jersey Paranormal want to take part in this class. And then if we can, we'll take up to 5 of you with us. So keep that in mind. Um, Message me through the page if you're interested in doing that. We'll first look for the people that have really been following us a long time, and most of you have supported us forever, so that's most of you anyway. But we'll look to take at least 5 of you with us when we do that. And it sounds like it's going to be really weird and really unique, but definitely something I'm looking forward to. So thanks for watching, guys. It is, I don't even know, Thursday night, tomorrow night, Liberty Hall. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. That starts at 8 o'clock, I believe. We'll probably do a wrap up Sunday night where we talk about Liberty Hall and all this other fun stuff, and we'll wrap up the Creeper Gallery stuff. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. And I'll see you soon.